Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. I'm your guys' host, SchuZ Schumaker. Joining me to kick off today's show is a man that holds a 13-0 record with 3 KOs. He's currently the IBF's number 15 ranked bantamweight contender. And this is a man that goes by the name Katsuma Akitsugi. Katsuma, appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, first things first, I know it's now a couple weeks removed from your most recent fight, but I'm sure you've been able to look back at it. You watched the fight back. Obviously, an excellent performance by yourself. What's your thoughts on that performance?
To be honest, I didn't like my performance.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was me.
All right. Well, do you feel like it had anything to do with the build-up process, just off night, or what's your overall thoughts on it as you've been able to look back on it? Why do you feel like that was not your best performance?
I would say bad camp.
Okay. Now, as you've gone through this now, obviously the boxing world, it's a learning progress. You're obviously going to have some great days. Sometimes it's not going to be as easy. Now, as you prepare for future fights, what did you learn from this past fight, this past camp that's now going to prepare you for the future now?
But to be honest, I was expecting I was gonna perform good. So I did 10 rounds, hard 10 rounds. So I feel better about it, even though my performance was bad.
Sure.
I thought my camper was very bad, so I thought fight was, but I did good.
So what would you say is or what was it? My bad.
No, it's okay.
So what would you say then is the biggest thing that you can learn now from that fight? As you look back at it, you go through that fight, what's the biggest thing that you can learn from that fight that you can now apply to your career moving forward?
Sultan was very tough, so he's the toughest I face. So definitely I learned from the toughness he brought.
Right. All right. Well,
because world level, like his toughness is normal. Like everybody's like that. So I never accept easy fights. So it was good experience.
Absolutely. Well, Katsuma, I want people to get to know your story because as I talked about in the introduction, you now are ranked in the top 15 by the IBF. For those that know boxing, we've seen you for a little while now. Everyone knew you were going to be a contender in the future. It's now official. You're now a top 15 ranked contender in all the world. So I want people to get to know you a little bit better. And it starts out with you being born in Japan. Obviously, you weren't born in America. You moved out here when you were 16 years old. But growing up in Japan, what was that like?
Regular kid,
right?
Growing up in Japan, and then just the little kid dreaming about American dream. That's why I show up here. I'm here still.
When you talk about the culture shock, and we're going to get into when you move out to America and all that, but obviously completely different cultures. As you've now transitioned, was it difficult for yourself in the transition from Japan to America? Was it pretty easy for yourself, or how would you say you transitioned?
It was very hard.
Okay.
No English. I didn't speak any English, so I didn't have any people. I just show up without knowing people. So I just show up. I even didn't know what workout was. I didn't know nothing. I just show up. So I'm kind of surprised I'm still here. I'm surprised that I'm where I am right now.
Right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe you started boxing at 7 years old. I have to ask you then, why did you decide to start pursuing boxing at 7? What brought you into boxing?
Oh, my dad took me to the boxing gym.
Okay.
Because the gym owner was one of the my dad's friends. So.
Would you say you fell in love with boxing right then and there? Did it take some time until you really fell in love with it? Or when did you feel like, boxing is what you want to pursue going forward?
I think right away.
Okay.
Because he took me and my brother like soccer, baseball. I think we didn't like the team sports. So once we got at the gym, I think we liked it.
One thing as I've gotten to know more and more about boxing, obviously boxing is massive in Japan. It's right up there between boxing, baseball, some of the biggest sports in Japan. For yourself now, as you grew up in that culture, how much of just the culture and how much it embraces boxing did that kind of inspire you to want to be a great boxer?
It's a Good question. To be honest, I just wanted to get better.
Okay.
Get better, get better. I didn't think nothing like want to become a champion or whatever. I just want to get better.
And for Japan, this era is pretty much regarded as the golden era of boxing. Obviously, you talk about, we know this, the guys that everyone in the world knows. Everybody knows who Junto is. Everybody knows who Inoue is. Everybody knows even Taraji is, these type of guys. But there is so much talent. For those that know boxing, Tsusumi's obviously great. All the Tsusumis are obviously great. Yourself is now included in this group. There's so many people with Japan background, either living there still, or obviously for yourself, obviously Japan. As you talk about being a part of this golden era, what does that mean to you?
It's pretty crazy because when I came here was 2017. It wasn't big.
Right.
American people, they don't know about Japanese boxing community. So it was kind of surprised. I think Naoya, the monster, he brought up all the American crowd.
Right.
Junto too.
For yourself now, as you've been trying to achieve these different aspects, obviously I know you've been able to train, you worked alongside Junto, you spar with him before, all the different aspects, and we'll get into that momentarily. But as you talk about now growing out there in Japan, when did you realize that you could become a legitimate contender in the world? Did that take not until you came to America? Did you already realize that in Japan? Or when did you really start to believe that you could be somebody special in boxing?
To be honest, it's kind of weird that I'm still, how can I say? Like, I believe in myself, but I feel like I could do more. So I never satisfy myself. So I never thought like I'm gonna become world champion, whatever. I just wanna like little by little, step by little by. I don't overlook like I wanna challenge this guy. I wanna step like I wanna be this respectfully.
Right.
So I don't wanna call out nobody. I just wanna fight whatever in front of me. I never duck nobody. I never said no. So I just when they bring me, I just fight. That's my job.
Right.
No hype. I don't need hype.
And you know what's interesting about that is that I think each culture around the world is different because obviously, like I said, boxing is so unique. We have everyone around the world competing in the sport. And I feel like there's obviously some Americans that have the same mindset as yourself, but predominantly, I'd say the Japanese culture, a lot of guys, you don't see the trash talking as much. You don't see as much of the clout chasing, the social media aspect. Obviously, they have great brands, but it's different. What about that? Why do you feel like so many guys from the Japanese culture don't kind of buy into this whole social media clickbait era?
I would say culture. We respect people. We of course it's boxing is a business, but we think sports too.
Right.
More like a sports, yeah. Not like trash talk to get attention. Of course it's good because it's get attention, but I don't think Japanese people like that kind of attention. Yeah.
For yourself, has it ever crossed your mind? Because as I said, now with you being in America, so many now, obviously I said not everybody, but a lot of guys in America like to use social media, like to go call people out and those type of things. And like you said, obviously it can bring bigger money, can bring more eyes to yourself. Why have you always stayed grounded? Why for yourself personally have you decided to say, you know what, I'm not going to go down that path?
Humble.
Okay.
Stay humble.
Right. I love
That's
that.
most important.
Now, I also want to ask about this transition. We briefly touched up on a little bit ago, but you moved to the United States at 16 years old. And now, correct me if I'm wrong anywhere here, but this is just some background for people that are listening. 16 years old, you go from Japan to America. You drop out of high school, you spoke no English, $10,000 in savings, and you come to America. That's a crazy thing to do that most 99.9% of 16-year-olds are not going to make the decision. You chose to do that. Why?
I love boxing.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom wasn't happy that I was gonna come because I even didn't decide the house. I just tried to show up, but my mom said, "Oh, please decide home first." Yeah, so that's how I was hungry, I guess. But at the time, I didn't know nothing. So maybe I wasn't scared at all.
Okay.
No fear. Yeah. Young people.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I could do right now. I don't think so.
Okay, so something crazy about that. You just said that you didn't even have a home picked out for yourself yet. So essentially, you're saying you bought yourself a plane ticket from Japan to America, and from there, you just said, "Okay, let's see what happens."
No. Then my mom say pick the house, so I
Okay.
picked. Yeah.
I know something else, and it's interesting. Is obviously there is great boxing in Japan. We just talked about that aspect, and you chose to come to America for boxing. Why is that the choice you made?
At the time, I thought America was more competition, more
Okay.
competitive. But Japan, they do like they bring the people from Philippine, Thai, or
Hmm.
then they get the record.
Right.
Then here too, I didn't know. Here like Mexico too,
Right.
because I have 7 years, 8 years my pro career. I
Hmm.
never say no, but I still get 13 fights.
Right.
8 years, 13 fights is kind of crazy to me.
Hmm.
That's how much corrupt, I guess.
Right. So if you were to go back now, like let's say the way Japan boxing has developed, obviously it's a much better situation now, I have to imagine, than it was, back when you came to America almost 10 years, 11 years ago now. If you were, 16 years old in 2025, do you think there's a bigger chance and a better chance that you would still stay in Japan as opposed to
I
coming to
think so.
America? Okay.
I think so. I think I was gonna stay if I'm 60 right now.
Okay.
That's how much boxing is big in Japan.
Right.
No worries.
My bad, everybody. I had a quick internet outage right there, but let's get right back to where we were. So, Katsuma, as I was asking you, obviously Japan boxing has grown drastically recently. It's now in a much different situation than it was, 10 years ago. If you were to be in Japan right now, 16 years old, do you think you would have stayed in Japan?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Definitely, I would.
And I know there's been a lot of different discussions right now. Japan boxing, as big as it has become, obviously there's been a lot of different rule changes they're trying to make right now. Obviously, there's a couple of tragedies that occurred a couple of weekends ago. When you talk about that and you see the development, because their organizing branch in terms of how you grow to become a world champion status is much different than America. Do you feel like the placement what they currently have in Japan right now is that good for boxing, or do you feel like they need some more changes in terms of the rules and the way they do it?
To be honest, I really don't know boxing like boxing culture in Japan. I really
Okay.
don't. I'm not belongs to there,
Right.
so I cannot say something that I don't know.
Makes sense. Now, I also want to get back to when you come to America now, because as you've now grown up in America for the past few years, you come out here. When did you start to feel like you were comfortable? Because I said you didn't speak English, you only had $10,000 in savings. When do you feel like you started to get comfortable and say, okay, I'm starting to find my groove. I feel like I'm finally comfortable out here.
To be honest, I'm not comfortable even though right now.
Okay.
I don't think I never comfortable with English.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, no, my friend over there, I just left.
Mm.
Yeah, it's no easy.
If somebody were to be in your shoes today and they come from a foreign country to America to pursue their dreams, what's your advice? What would be the best way, the easiest way to make this transition?
Determination,
Mm,
determination. That I think that's the most reason I'm still undefeated. Because determination. I think
right.
I don't care how talented you are. I think hard.
Mm. Was there ever a moment since you've arrived in America that it crossed your mind, said, you know what, this maybe is not working out. I need to go back home to Japan? Or have you always been 100% all in on staying in America?
It's up and down.
Okay.
Yeah, I was many times. I thought I was gonna go home.
Mm. So what kept you in America?
That much hard it was.
So what kept you in America then? Why did you decide to stay, even in those tough times? Why did you say, you know what, I'm going to stay here?
I only have boxing.
Mm.
If I giving up, maybe I really don't know what I'm gonna do.
Right.
No choice. But I
Now,
think I put myself this position. Yeah.
something else that's unique about you is that the way you support yourself, at least early on, is that you were washing dishes at a Japanese restaurant. I have to ask you about that because, you know, you're trying to pursue this boxing dream. You're still trying to make a living. How did you balance all those things?
Mm, how? That's a difficult question. But I would say just chase my dream.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I want to head into now your debut. 2018 rolls around. You're 20 years old. You decide to make the pro jump at that point in time. Why at that age? Why did you feel like you were ready at 20 years old to make that pro jump?
The time I lost in Golden Gloves,
Mm-hmm.
but people say I won, but I lost.
Right.
So I decided.
All right. Now, there has been two interesting situations throughout your career. Between the years of 2019 and 2020, you were not able to fight, and then you roll around to 2022 to 2024, you also had a little bit of a drought without fighting there. When you look back on those two time spans, what happened in each one of them? What caused you to have to go, you know, over a year, over 12 months outside of the ring?
Uh, injury, of course, injury. I had a bunch of injury, but I would say I was with the wrong people.
Mm,
Also, I didn't have much support here.
right.
Yeah, I didn't have nobody.
And I think that's a huge thing because when you talk about boxing, the business aspect is so big, and so many people don't understand the boxing business side. Everyone just sees what happens inside the ring, but the promotional aspects, obviously the managers, so on and so
Exactly.
forth, those are the guys that really help you get those big fights. Obviously, I feel like you're in a much better situation today with where you're at. But when you talk about that, you now have wisdom. You've experienced what good management promotion can do. You've also experienced what bad ones can do. What is your advice if you were, you know, let's say once again, a young up and coming guy turning pro? What should they look for in a promotional guy, a manager? What's to look for in those guys?
I would say manager.
Mm.
Yeah, manager makes big difference in boxing.
Also, we talked about a little bit ago, sparring, you've been able to go out there and spar with many big names. Two names, most notably, I'd say Jun Nakatani, Mark Magsayo, two great, phenomenal boxers you've been able to go spar with. Let's start with Jun Nakatani, a guy that obviously is a pound-for-pound fighter right now, one of the best in all the world. What was it like being able to spar with him a few months ago?
That was the owner.
Mm.
Yeah, that was very beautiful work. He never tried to hurt. He tried to work something he needs to work.
Right.
That's very beautiful. It was very different. I spar like a fight,
Yeah.
hard fight. I like to spar like a fight. Yeah, so it's very different experience.
I have to ask you this question. It kind of puts you on the spot here, but I think everybody knows that it's only a matter of time until we see Inoue versus Junta Nakatani. I know Junta's moving up now officially to 122. He's out of your weight class now, and I think we all know why he's moved up to 122. It's the fight should happen next year. When you look at those two guys, we're talking about two pound-for-pound fighters. Who do you think is going to win the fight?
I would say Naoya,
Okay.
but I really want Junto to win.
Hmm. Why do you give the edge? I agree with you. I do have Inoue winning that fight, but why do you give him the edge? Why do you think Inoue would win that fight?
It's a hard question. But I would say, don't get me wrong, Junto is very competitive fighter too.
Definitely.
But now I think little bit more complete, I guess.
Right.
But I wasn't surprised if Junto win. I want him to win.
Right. You know, I just think about the stage you could possibly set. Obviously, Inoue has been that guy. He's the face of Japanese boxing. All due respect, he's amazing. And I think he will win that fight. But hypothetically speaking, if Junto goes out there and wins the fight, significantly younger than Inoue in that fight as well, how big do you think his name would become? And how big do you think that would be for Japanese boxing if Junto is able to pull off that win?
Oh, if he wins.
If Junto wins, correct. Yep.
It's going to be more bigger than right now.
Right.
But I cannot wait as a fan.
Mm-hmm. Now, the interesting thing is it does now come into your overall weight class. So I want to ask about Junto. Is that because we know that Junto's gone, Nishida should be gone as well. I think he's moved to 122 as well now. And so now you're looking at 118. It is very wide open right now. Bantamweight obviously has open belts right now. There's a lot of guys. And now it's in a position where, you know, it's up for grabs. You're in the top 15 now. You obviously have a chance at making a run there. When you look at your weight class with Junto gone, Nishida likely gone, what does that do for you, and what it makes? How excited are you now moving forward, knowing that there's so much more opportunity now?
It's not like because Junto moved up, but nobody wanted to fight him, so
right.
I think everybody happy he moved up. But we are good friends. But if they ask me, I would take. But I really don't care who I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna take whatever I'm gonna have opportunity.
It's interesting that you said that because I feel like in boxing, you're either so diehard on saying, okay, if the money's right, the situation's right, I'll fight a friend. Other guys would say, you know what, I'm not going to fight a friend regardless of what happens. You obviously just said that. Hypothetically speaking, now Junto is moving up to 122, but hypothetically said if that opportunity were to present itself, you would take it. Why is that your approach? Even though you know Junto, even though you're friends, why would you want to still fight him if that situation was there?
Dream. I want to become world champion.
Right.
Because especially nowadays, nobody wanna fight without good money. So if I have a belt, everybody's coming to me.
Right. So what do you look for yourself? Because you're only 27 years old. Obviously, you're bantamweight. You're in the top 15 now. What's your track record? Obviously, you know, world championship shot probably is not coming in your next fight. But in terms of when that could be, do you see that happening within, you know, the next year, 18 months? When do you feel like you could possibly be fighting and put yourself in position to fight for a world championship?
Hopefully soon, but I cannot say. But I gotta win too.
Right.
Yeah, I don't wanna say in the like a couple of days after. I'm looking for next fight. Yeah, I'm gonna be next guy, the next. So that's why I don't like people have a fight before the fight, next fight.
Agree.
Yeah, it's a very disrespectful opponent, I think.
Now, we have seen that a lot, you know, and I think most notably, even though he took care of business, you know, Bam Rodriguez, he already had his next fight lined up after Pumile Kafu. It all worked out. Obviously, that happens. So, like, Inoue does the same thing sometimes. But, like you said, your idea is always staying fight-by-fight basis. What kind of led you to that mindset? Why do you say, you know what, I'm only going to look forward to who is next as opposed to the future plans?
I don't think it's I don't see it's good to overlook opponent behind you, not against you.
Right. So what is next for yourself then? When you look at what's on the table, as I said, you're in the top 15 in the IBF now. Is there somebody that you want overall? Do you see yourself fighting a top 15 guy, just another tune-up fight? Like, what do you want in this next fight?
I actually don't know who above me, but whatever top 10 or whatever, I'm happy.
So you do want whatever it is, you want your next fight to be against a top 15, top 10 ranked guy?
Yeah, I'm gonna get better position, so.
Right. Now, there is one name. I just want to throw it out there real quickly. And the only reason I say this is because he is a fellow guy in America. That's Michael Angeletti. I know you guys obviously are both 118, both in America. It could possibly get made. He is ranked a little bit above you in the IBF. Also, he's ranked in 2 other weight classes or 2 other bodies as well. Would that fight be something that would possibly be made? Have you ever had rumors of that fight?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, we supposed to fight a couple years ago.
Right, right.
But I don't know, it's fell off.
So do you think that fight could reemerge? Could we possibly see that fight in the future?
Oh, why not?
All right. Out of everybody there, like I said, when do you see yourself getting back to the ring? Is there a certain time, by the end of this year, next year, when do you want to get back to the ring?
I think end of the year. Depends on my cut, but
right. Absolutely, man. Well, I got a couple more questions before I let you go, Katsuma. One of them is this. Now, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it rightly, but I want to try sounding it out. It's your nickname you go by, El Cueto Japonesita. And if I'm not mistaken, stands
El
for the little...
Japonesito.
Correct, yeah. And so I believe that it stands for the little Japanese rocket, if I'm not mistaken. How did you come up with that nickname? Where did that start from?
Oh, just my first... When I made my outfit, I asked, he was Mexican, so I asked, give me some Spanish nickname.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Then keep going from there.
And you do embrace that, which is unique, because when we talk about the culture of boxing, Mexico and Japanese styles are so similar. Obviously, there's some differences, but they're very, very similar. As you've now embraced both the Mexican culture as well as Japanese culture, what does that mean to you?
Oh, it means a lot. Mexican people are one of my favorite people. Yeah, very, very good culture, very good people. I even didn't know Mexican people live in America. Yeah, I didn't know.
All right. Well, Katsuma, I have one final question for you, and that is the question I like wrapping up every interview with, and that's asking about your legacy. Obviously, one day in the future, you'll step away from boxing and move on from boxing. When that day does happen, what do you want to be remembered for what you have accomplished both inside and outside of the ring?
Legacy. No ducking. Never duck. Never say no. I wanna be like a old boxing. Like they fight each other, like the best of the best. But of course, it's hard right now, business side. But yeah, once maybe I became world champion, maybe people wanna fight. So I gotta be there. I gotta be there first.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, Katsuma, I appreciate you for taking time to come on today, man. It's been a blessing and honor having you on the show, and I cannot wait to see what God's got in store for you, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, you're always welcome on, man. God bless.
God bless you. Thank you.
I appreciate you guys all for tuning into that interview. I'll have that clipped up, edited out, and then posted on my YouTube channel separately by the end of the show. I will be right back. I'm going to go on a short break, and then we'll get into some boxing topics, including a fight recap of what went down this past weekend and much more. So I'll see you guys very shortly. May God bless you guys all, and I'll see you guys shortly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SchuZ Show. I'm your guys' host, SchuZ Schumaker. I don't think I said this in the beginning of the show, but I hope you guys did have a blessed weekend, had a great weekend, and you guys are now having a great Monday wherever you guys might be. With that being said, though, we got a lot to get into on today's boxing segment stuff. So first and foremost, though, we had a card go down in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia this past weekend, featuring 4 big fights that I wanted to discuss and get into. There also were 2 other fights I'm going to mention as well. I'll be breaking all that down, and then we'll be getting into some boxing news as well. However, if you guys are tuning in right now and there are any questions, comments, or things you guys want me to get into on today's show, make sure to leave it in the chat, and I will discuss as we go throughout the duration of today's show. Let's get right into it, though. I'm going to start with the main event, and we'll work our way down from there. MOSLEY Itauma defeats Dillian Whyte via first round TKO. All right. I'm a little bit conflicted on how to take this approach because on one side of the spectrum, MOSLEY Itauma did exactly what he needed to go out there and do. Take care of a good veteran that people have always known, a good name on his record, took care of business in 1 round. And let me just say this real quickly. That was exactly what the job was. Now, Dillian Whyte, let's make it very clear, is not prime Dillian Whyte, nor is Dillian Whyte really that guy. But it is a good name, and MOSLEY Itauma went in there and took care of business in the exact way that he was supposed to go out there and take care of business, which was to get an early round knockout. And I feel like actually he even exceeded expectations. I was expecting a top 3 or 4 round, get him out of the time. MOSLEY Itauma took care of business within a couple minutes. That was phenomenal. That was impressive, and I feel like MOSLEY Itauma did his job in that ring. However, at the same time, I don't know what Dillian Whyte was doing. You know, all week long, it just felt like something was off with Dillian Whyte. Now, in terms of the way he weighed in on the scale, it was phenomenal. He was in the best shape he's been in a long time. But the way he was it just felt like his mentality was not the Dillian Whyte that we knew and loved from so many years ago. The Dillian Whyte that we experienced and witnessed on Saturday specifically was a Dillian Whyte that seemed way too laid back. The ring walk was very, very slow, was very sluggish, did not seem like himself, was no energy whatsoever. He obviously was delaying the fight for a couple of minutes there. Ben Davison was getting upset about it. Just did not feel like Dillian Whyte was in the right mental space for this fight, and it was evident. That's why he got himself knocked out of there in the first round. Not a good performance, and I think this is the final time we're going to see Dillian Whyte. I know there's rumors of him going out there and fighting like Chisora or something like that one more time. Let's not have that happen. Dillian Whyte, it's time for him to go. He's had a decent run. He's had a good career. But it is time for him to pack it up and move on from boxing. That Dillian Whyte that we saw in the ring was not even competitive. He didn't push MOSLEY Itauma. He didn't give MOSLEY Itauma any rounds. And that's that. So when I look at this situation, the reason I said I'm conflicted is that, okay, MOSLEY Itauma did everything he was supposed to do in that fight. He took care of business. He got a knockout in the first round, a statement highlight reel. He solidified himself, so on and so forth. However, the name that he added to that list, while historically is good, that was not a good win. That didn't give MOSLEY Itauma what he needed. What MOSLEY Itauma needs right now is rounds underneath his belt. Because Turkey's already out here talking about, hey, I want to go throw together a fight with Alexander Usyk, which please, Turkey, please don't make this fight happen. We do not need to see Alexander Usyk versus MOSLEY Itauma right now. Joseph Parker versus MOSLEY Itauma, if Usyk vacates, fine. And if MOSLEY Itauma somehow beats Joseph Parker, then go ahead and book that fight. But MOSLEY Itauma needs rounds. And throwing him in there with the best man of this generation of the heavyweight era, that cannot happen. He's not ready for that one. But what I will say to make this very confidently is this. MOSLEY Itauma took care of business this weekend. He did exactly what people needed to see from him, and that was go out there, take out a respected veteran's name in an early round stoppage, and I think he exceeded expectations of doing that in the first round, but he made that highlight reel moment for a 20-year-old rising heavyweight star to say, you know what? This is the man that's going to be the face of the next era of the heavyweight division, and quite frankly, possibly even one of the next faces of the next era of boxing, regardless of weight class. And I feel like this was the next step he needed to take. He took care of business, he solidified himself, and he made a big move this weekend by doing what he did in that ring to Dillian Whyte. So hats off to MOSLEY Itauma. The hype is real. He is legitimate. And I feel like it is time for him to go out there and fight a guy in that top 10, a legitimate ranked contender, and go out there and make a statement against that man. We'll see what happens. I think Joseph Parker would be a great matchup if it's for the world championship, if Usyk vacates that belt and Parker is elevated to world champion. We'll see if that happens. That's ideally what I think is best for him. Let's go to the co-main event. Nick Ball defeats Sam Goodman via unanimous decision. All right. 115-113, great scorecards. I like it. However, those 117-111 and 118-110 scorecards were outlandish. I'm not sure what the judges were watching that fight. I'm not sure how you come to that conclusion. This was a very, very close fight. And even to the extent where I did have Nick Ball winning that fight, a draw or Sam Goodman winning by a round could have very been feasible outcome right there. Now, I do think Nick Ball did win that fight by a round or two, but those two first scorecards were outlandish, were horrible. But it is what it is. The rightful man, I believe, did win that fight. And what I'll say is this. Hats off to Sam Goodman. Hats off to him. Listen, this is a man that moved up weight class from 122 to 126. This is a man that had the biggest opportunity in all of boxing to fight Inoue. And unfortunate circumstances occurred where he had cuts, so on and so forth, and he blew those opportunities. So what does he get? He gets an opportunity to move up to 126 and go out there and fight Nick Ball. And I feel like he put on one heck of a performance where it was like, okay, this is a man that we want to see stick around a little bit longer. This is a man that belongs at 126 now. He's going to be a threat. He just gave Nick Ball everything he could handle. He put on a great show. I was thoroughly impressed with the performance by Sam Goodman. And I think he had the great game plan. Nick Ball was able to go out there and take the edge in those championship rounds. But besides that aspect right there, excellent game plan by Sam Goodman. This is a man that's going to be a threat at 126. We will see from him again. I was excited to see that performance. But let's head over to Nick Ball. I think it's time that we put some respect on Nick Ball. Whether you like him or not, whether you think he's the best man at 126 or not, what Nick Ball has done for British boxing is huge. He is carrying the entire nation of British boxing on his shoulders right now. Why? Because he is the only world champion from the UK at this point in time. And that is saying something. This has been one of the most dominant countries when it comes to boxing over the duration of the past 50 years, century, whatever you want to call it. British boxing is massive, and yet they only have one world champion right now. And had he lost on Saturday, a massive drought would have been snapped where the British boxing would not have no longer had a world champion for the first time in 39 years. That's saying something right there. And I feel like it's time to put some respect on Nick Ball because, yeah, whether you love him or not, he is one of the most entertaining fighters to watch in all boxing. Absolutely love watching him. And on top of that, this man is literally carrying an entire country on his back. That's what he's doing right now. Nick Ball is the man that has to go out there right now because no one else in Britain has a world championship. He's the man holding it down for the entire country right now. I think that says something right there. So I think he needs some more respect and give some more credit to Nick Ball. Heavyweight fight went down. Filip Hrgovic versus David Adeleye. He won by unanimous decision, 98-91, 99-90, 99-90. Excellent performance by Hrgovic. David Adeleye, I think this was always a step-up fight. I would have preferred to see the rematch with Jamie TKV or a Dave Allen fight, something along those lines. He goes right for Filip Hrgovic. Good opportunity. Much respect for him for taking it. I just don't think David Adeleye was ready for that step up. And it was obvious. Hrgovic was the better man in the ring that night. But what I must say is this. My goodness, does Filip Hrgovic have a chin? I mean, holy smokes. Those two fights, there was the one early on when he caused the cut. I think it was round 3, if I'm not mistaken. Somehow he doesn't even look like he got shaken. Obviously, he's getting blood coming out of his eye and all these different things right there. But he wasn't shaken. He was right there, stood up, didn't even phase, his knees didn't buckle, nothing. That was thoroughly impressive. And then the onslaught in round 8, which was one of the best rounds we're going to see in all boxing this entire year, where David Adeleye puts an absolute beating on Hrgovic, landing count, I don't even know what the count was, many shots in a row consecutively on Filip Hrgovic, and Hrgovic doesn't even get staggered. There is very few guys, if any, in all of boxing right now that has as good of a chin as Filip Hrgovic does. What I will say is this. Do I think Filip Hrgovic is the man that is going to become a world champion? No, I do not. Do I think Filip Hrgovic is a legitimate top 10 contender right now that can give guys a tough battle? Absolutely. Now, we'll see what happens. He could very well prove me wrong here, but he did get himself back on the map between his past 2 wins. I think this is a great position for himself to be in. I was thoroughly impressed by his performance on Saturday, so we'll see where that lands him. Here's the other fight I really want to dive into, and that is in regards to Ray Ford. All right. Raymond Ford got the win. He beats Albert Bell by unanimous decision, 96-94, 97-93, 97-93. That's the scorecards here. I was thoroughly impressed by Raymond Ford. I think it was a good overall performance, to say the least. But there are some things I want to say. And I don't feel like this was the performance that Raymond Ford wanted. I don't think this is the performance that his team wanted. And I don't think this was the best version of Raymond Ford. And it is what it is. Something about him going to Saudi, for some reason, he doesn't bring his best for one reason or another. I don't know why. But this all goes back to the weigh-in. Remember, he moved up from 126 because he could hardly make weight to 130. But the weigh-in at 130 was very, very difficult for himself. He weighed in at 130.3 pounds, 0.3 pounds heavier than the contracted limit. The fight still went through, obviously, after the two reached a new deal. And I'm going to say this. Only missing about 0.3 is not the biggest deal in the world. He obviously looked like he tried to make weight, so on and so forth. But here's the problem. It's still missing weight. And he just moved up to 130. Does that mean that 135 is coming in the near future here? He told me on my show when he came on here a little bit ago that isn't his plans. But this early, I don't know. Missing weight was already an interesting thing. And then we get to the fight, and it was not his best performance. I love Raymond Ford. This is still a man that I believe will be a top 10 pound-for-pound type fighter if he wants to. But I feel like he needs to get a little bit more discipline. That's it. He has so much God-given ability. He is so skilled, and I think he is dominant. I think it's going him just by his skill in and of itself is going to put him in great positions to be successful. However, I know his mind is not always all on boxing. It's not his end-all be-all, which is totally fine. But if he gets a little bit more discipline, he can get the weight figured out. He can get all the nutrition stuff figured out. He can stay locked in wherever he's at. This is a man that I've said before is so God-gifted ability-wise. He could go dominate and do great things. A pound-pound fight in the future. That's why I see it as. I just don't feel like this was the right performance by himself. He obviously won the scorecards, as I said, but listen, close fight. In that back end of the fight, Nova made a very interesting fight there. He really did test Raymond Ford in the final rounds of that fight. He made it much more competitive, and then Raymond Ford still got the win. But Abraham Nova, much props to him, stepping up against a guy like Raymond Ford on short notice in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And he put on that performance, very impressive. I think Abraham Nova is a good fighter. He showed out that night. Great performance by him. For Raymond Ford, he will be back, and I think he's going to be much better in his return. Also, Omar Trinidad. Interesting fight went down. He remains the WBC Continental Americas featherweight champion when the judges decided on a majority draw. Interesting there. Trinidad is one of the top contenders at featherweight right now. Interesting to see him have a second draw in his career now. Also, William Foster III got defeated by majority decision this weekend by Yakubov. And then Hayato Tsutsumi. He defeats Kwais Akish in third round KO. Excellent performance by him. This is a man that's quickly rising up right now in my books. I feel like we're looking at a man who in the future, we are talking about a man who I truly do believe will be another one of those top Japanese contenders, possibly even world champion. That's how high I am on him. Let's head over to some boxing news. I said on Friday, there was rumors that Dave Benavidez Sr. was discussing terms that possibly Anthony Yarde could be out of the fight with Benavidez and Artur Beterbiev would step in. Turki Al-Sheikh says no. He squashed the rumors that Dave Benavidez versus Artur Beterbiev could end up happening on the November 22nd card, but he said the fight could well take place in 2026 if Benavidez beats Anthony Yarde and Beterbiev beats Dion Nicholson. I think that's a foregone conclusion. I think both guys will win those fights, and so then it puts us into an interesting situation. Now, real quickly, the reason I'm going to skip over this and before I finish the segment up is that Dimitri Bivol has been ordered by the WBO to submit certification of injury. Boxing Scene has learned that Bivol's team has submitted the necessary paperwork, but this is yet to be confirmed by the WBO. So a lot of things are interesting there. Obviously, I think Artur Beterbiev, once Dimitri Bivol is healthy, he's going to get that trilogy fight, and he rightfully deserves it. However, if Bivol cannot return, and that is quite up in the air right now. I don't think anybody knows when he will get back in the ring. Beterbiev versus Benavidez is going to be one of the biggest fights to make in all boxing. And if we can get that in 2026, I think that might actually be a more entertaining fight even per se than it would have been the Beterbiev-Bivol. Now, Beterbiev-Bivol would have been a much more technical fight, would have been incredible. I still want to see the trilogy. But if we're considering this a worst case scenario and we get Benavidez with Beterbiev, that is one heck of a fight. So we'll see what's unfolding. I think both guys will win on November 22nd, but still interesting thing to keep an eye on. Cordina return possible for Monaco. Eddie Hearn, November/December for Joe Cordina's next fight. He boxed in Monaco before. He may be returning there. We're planning that December 6th Monaco card right now, and there will be an announcement on it soon. Very interesting to see. We'll see who ends up fighting there, but that's what Eddie Hearn says. Serhii Bohachuk will rematch Brandon Adams on the undercard of Canelo Alvarez-Terence Crawford on September 13th. This was a fight that's been rumored for quite some time. I love it. Serhii Bohachuk's a very entertaining fighter, and for Brandon Adams, he's a very solid fighter. Some people forget about him, but he's a good fighter. He's a top 15 ranked contender, and this is a fight I want to see. I'm excited for. It's a good fight. Should be entertaining on the undercard for Canelo, Bud Crawford. Remember, this is also a rematch as Adams did stop Bohachuk inside 8 rounds back in 2021. Jesus Ramos and Shane Mosley Jr. are in talks for a fight for the WBC 160-pound interim title. I like this. Now, Jesus Ramos has been a part of 154. He fought at 160 recently, but 154 is his weight class. 154 is the most deep weight class in all boxing right now, stacked. And there seems to be a problem making fights happen. For one reason or another, he hasn't been able to get his world title shot yet, or even a title eliminator, or any of those things. move to 160, which is a much more open weight class. You could argue that it's the worst weight class in all of boxing. That's a big opportunity for himself. Title eliminator right there, or for the interim title for the WBC 160 against Shane Mosley Jr. I like that fight for him, and I would not be shocked to see that come to fruition. Last thing, British Cruiserweight champion Viddal Riley has announced that he is now a free agent. I'm very high on Viddal Riley. I love what he brings to the table. This is a man that has a very bright future. He's now a free agent. Another man that Boxer has lost, so we'll see what happens here. But Boxer obviously has to do some figuring out. They got a lot of stuff to get done now. They do have the TV deal done. I've given props to Ben Shalom for that. But they still have a lot of fighters, and now two guys, big names, Joshua Buatsi and now Viddal Riley, are both off his roster and moving on. We'll see where Viddal Riley goes as he's now a free agent, but very interesting news in that regard. With that being said, I don't see any comments in the chat section right now, so I'll be wrapping up today's show with that. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of you guys Monday. I will be back live tomorrow on Tuesday. I don't think there's going to be a guest tomorrow unless something comes together last minute, but I will announce that if it does. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of you guys Monday. May God bless you guys all, and I will see you guys back live tomorrow. So may God bless you guys all. And with that being said, SchuZ is out. See you guys tomorrow on Tuesday. God bless you guys.